Ah, yes, welcome back. Time to shine. Time now for Take Your Pick. And as always, we're going to pick all the Week 14 NFL games against the spread. And joining us right now to make those aforementioned picks, our good friend and Vegas insider for CBSSports.com, the great Todd Fuhrman. And Todd, solid week for me last week, 8-6 against the spread after a rocky start with the 1 o'clock Eastern time games. But man, I've looked at the numbers already this week. The road is certainly, Todd Fuhrman, about to get more difficult.
It never gets any easier the later you get in the season, Adam. Teams playing out the stretch, teams electing not to show up, as we saw on Monday night, and some weird, unusual matchups that always make you pause before locking in those picks.
All right, Todd, this one is for you because we went back through the archives every single week here on Time to Shine. You have never once picked my Oakland Raiders. So I said earlier I'm taking the Raiders to win outright. So we start tonight. The Chiefs, 3-point favorites at home when they host my Oakland Raiders. Todd Fuhrman, take your pick.
I spent more time on this game, Adam, than any other game on the slate. I dissected offensive numbers, defensive numbers, special teams numbers. I called my weatherman. I called my old neighbors. I called my mailman. And I still came back to the same conclusion. Despite being outgained by nearly 600 yards since October 30th, needing 3 non-offensive touchdowns for Kansas City to keep this juggernaut on the tracks, I'm going to make a case for Kansas City at Frigid Arrowhead based on home field advantage and the fact they should have the services of Jeremy Maclin, a little bit more dynamic offensively than what we've seen from Kansas City. And we rewind to the first meeting of these two teams. Kansas City played keep away, and I know it was wet and sloppy conditions, but Derek Carr never felt comfortable against this Chiefs defense. Call it for the division. You know where I'm going with this pick. Kansas City, 3-point favorite. Lock it up.
You are unbelievable. It's like the great Taylor Swift once said, the hater's gonna hate, hate hates, hate hate. Your weatherman's wrong, your mailman's wrong, and you need new friends. For all the reasons, Todd Fuhrman, we documented earlier in the show, the Raiders win outright 28-27 behind that unbelievable offensive line, Latavius Murray and my guy, Derek Carr. Shame on you, Todd Fuhrman. Shame, 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 shame. AFC South battle on Sunday. The Texans visit the Indianapolis Colts on CBS. It's a big ball game. Indy is favored by 6. Todd Fuhrman, take your pick.
It's amazing what a beatdown to the New York Jets can do to a point spread. Had this game been played last weekend, we'd be talking about the Colts about a 4.5 point favorite. Everybody saw Andrew Luck in a glorified 7-on-7 drill against that Jets secondary. Looked like the franchise quarterback we always thought he could be. Houston, meanwhile, was a little bit better than the final score indicates in that snow-filled game up at Lambeau. I think the Texans do enough defensively to keep this game inside the number. I don't think Brock can go into the Dome and win outright, but I do think he can lose by a field goal. Give me the Texans here with those generous points.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to take Houston with the points as well. I was actually stunned that this was the line. I thought maybe I was missing something, so I'm glad to hear you're taking Houston as well. Look, win, lose, or draw doesn't matter. The game here is the game. It's picking the games with the points. I couldn't circle Houston fast enough. And you know what? Not that I'm going to sit here and tell you Brock Osweiler is going to be fantastic, but against that Indy defense, again, don't get duped by the Jets. They're the most unwatchable team in the NFL, and that says something about something. Give me Houston with the points, and Osweiler will be solid on Sunday. Pittsburgh Steelers head to Buffalo. Big Ben and company. 2-point road favorites, Todd, over the Bills. Take your pick.
You wanted to hear a grown man sobbing at any point in your life, Adam? That was me watching the Bills relinquish a 24-9 lead against your beloved Raiders. I thought I could come in here gloating. My 200-plus rushing yards prediction materialized, and then the Buffalo defense happened. But I'm not going to shy away from the horse that bucked me here with them as a 2-point home underdog. It's Buffalo's last stand. So many people talk about the Steelers. They're an AFC dark horse. They're this, they're that, the other. I still have some major reservations, and while this short number doesn't give me a lot of margin for error with the dog, I want to back Buffalo here. I think they'll find some success running the football as they get to the win column.
Todd, this, that, and the other could all do a better job coaching the Buffalo Bills as opposed to Rex Ryan. I love Pittsburgh. I love what I saw from Todd Haley in terms of the game plan last week. A lot of Le'Veon Bell. I think we're going to see the same. Look, you make a good point about Buffalo and their ability to run the ball, whether it's LaShawn McCoy, Tyrod Taylor against Pittsburgh's defense. But I think Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger, and Antonio Brown and Ladarius Green all dominate this one. The bigger spot for Pittsburgh, I think Pittsburgh is going to bludgeon the Buffalo Bills. The Green Bay Packers host the Seattle Seahawks at Lambeau on Sunday. Seattle, Todd Fuhrman, is favored by 3 on the road in this one. Todd, take your pick.
It's always interesting when you try and break down some of these matchups, Adam, and we talk all the time about what's a quarterback worth to the point spread, what's an elite running back, an elite wide receiver. But very infrequently do you talk about what a defender means to the number, and that's the situation here. Seattle hasn't seen the point spread move at all without the services of Earl Thomas, and he really becomes the eraser on the back end. We look at this Seattle defense, and of course, they were able to go out there and really clamp down on Cam Newton and company. There was an extra sense of purpose and motivation. But this is a Packers team offensively that's starting to get its swagger back. Aaron Rodgers looking more and more comfortable with the emergence of Davante Adams as his go-to receiver. And when you have Jordy Nelson opposite him and an emerging running game with Christine Michael, who's got a chance to play with a chip on his shoulder against his own team, I think Green Bay is a very worthy live underdog at Lambeau, knowing how much more is at stake for them than a Seattle team most likely chasing down that number 2 spot in the NFC.
Yeah, Todd, we're sharing a brain. I'm taking Green Bay to win outright. I think no Earl Thomas, that's a huge deal. I'm with you completely on Davante Adams and Randall Cobb, and most especially Jordy Nelson being back. And Aaron Rodgers is still the most gifted quarterback in the National Football League. I'm rolling with the Packers to win the game outright. The Atlanta Falcons visit the LA Rams. Atlanta favored by 6 in this one. Todd Fuhrman, take your pick.
This is a glorified dumpster fire, and you don't normally say that with one team who's tied for first. But the Atlanta Falcons don't deserve to be 6-point favorites on the road against anybody, given that defense probably can't string together consecutive stops. And they might not be able to string together consecutive stops against a Jared Goff-led offense. I think we're going to see a steady dose of Todd Gurley. And as soon as we write Jeff Fisher and this much maligned team off for dead, they do something, completely surprise us, and flirt with that 500 record. 7-9, 6-10, that's probably where Jeff Fisher ends up. I think the Rams will cover this generous number as 6-point underdogs.
You know, Jeff Fisher can't find the challenge flag. Jeff Fisher doesn't know if Les Snead gets a new contract. Jeff Fisher doesn't know if Danny Woodhead is still on the New England Patriots. Jeff Fisher is the worst. Literally the worst. Give me the Atlanta Falcons to win and cover. Sunday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys, Todd, visiting the New York Football Giants. Dallas favored by 3 on the road at MetLife Stadium. Todd, take your pick.
This, for me, is one of the most interesting games of the weekend. So many question marks around Dallas. Will they be able to handle prosperity? We saw the TMZ video earlier this week. Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott out partying after they clinched a playoff spot. They're young kids. We got to cut them some slack for that. But we look at this Dallas team, and they're in an unusual scheduling spot. They're going to play what amount to 5 de facto primetime games with the Giants Sunday night, Tampa next Sunday night, and then the Lions on Monday night. You look at the Giants on the other side, they know this is their last-ditch effort to stay relevant in the division. I'm worried about them defensively. You don't just replace a JPP who's been out there for 793 snaps, but as this number trends ever so close to 3.5, I know it's only 3 right now, I think the Giants have a few tricks up their sleeve to slow down Dak and company. Give me the Giants not only to cover, but to win this game outright and slow that Cowboys juggernaut.
Unless the trick is LT in his prime. I mean, Todd,
Joe Morris. We'll get the ball to Joe Morris.
I'd feel better about it if Joe Morris was there, or Mark Bavaro, or Phil Simms. But come on, listen, Eli throws it to the wrong team, and the offensive line is porous, and Rashad Jennings is just a guy, and JPP, that's a factor, and Dallas is really good. Dallas is never losing again. Dallas is going to the Super Bowl. Haters like you can question it, Todd Fuhrman, but this team is great. The Dallas Cowboys are a great team. They're going to win. They're going to cover. And Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, they're going to dominate this game. Baltimore Ravens on the road in Foxborough for Monday Night Football. The New England Patriots, Todd, are 7-point favorites. Todd Fuhrman, I think it's the toughest game of the week. Take your pick.
This is a massive number, and it would have been even bigger before Baltimore put the hurting on Miami they did a week ago. You'd have been looking at New England about a 9.5, 10-point favorite here. But the Patriots pretty pedestrian on offense for the second week in a row against the Rams. Baltimore starting to find a little bit of a swagger, whether you want to call it Joe Flacco's quick short passing game, the emergence of Kenneth Dixon as a viable runner receiver out of the backfield. We know the one constant for Baltimore, defensively they're not going to let you run the football against him. So it's going to put a lot of pressure on Tom Brady to get the ball out early. I think Malcolm Mitchell has given him a very valuable number 2 receiver behind Julian Edelman now that Rob Gronkowski is lost for the year. But the one thing we know about this rivalry, if there's a team in the NFL that does not fear going into Gillette Stadium, it's the Baltimore Ravens. I think they keep this game close and will have a chance, a slight chance to win this game outright in the game's final stages.
You know, in theory, I agree with everything you said, whether it's history, whether it's Flacco last week, and you know I love Joe Flacco, whether it's John Harbaugh and the defense. I hear you. I get it. I agree with you. You nailed it. I'm taking New England. I just, go ahead, Todd.
No. I'm going to give you the floor. I mean, we know sometimes we're going to agree on some games and other games we'll have disagreements. So, these are the games we have to prove our mettle when we go head-to-head, Adam.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I just think Tom Brady is going to still be able to slice and dice even without Gronk. And I know that defense for New England is not very good and not very talented, and I've been critical. And I know Baltimore is always confident, but this game to me has 30-20 New England written all over it. Let's take a look at the rest of our picks for a very busy week in the NFL. I'm rolling with the Broncos. Todd going with Tennessee. I've got Phil Rivers. Todd is going with the Carolina Panthers. We disagree on the Battle of Ohio. We are sharing a brain on the Cards and, of course, Miami. Lions and Bears. I'm rolling with Matthew Stafford. Todd going with the Chicago Bears. We both have the Vikings. We disagree completely on Washington and Philly. We're both taking the better team with the better head coach and the better quarterback with the San Francisco 49ers. And I've got the Bucs and Todd rolling with the Saints. Friendly reminder to our viewers, as we do every week, don't forget to check out Todd's podcast at bettheboardpodcast.com. Todd, good luck tonight and this weekend. We'll talk to you again next week.